Hello there, good evening everyone. This is Dari on WorldStreams Radio. Thank you to our listeners from all around the world for joining us tonight. If you'd like to learn more about WorldStreams Radio, visit our website at worldstreams.org. Our special guest tonight is Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky is an American linguist, philosopher, cognitive scientist, political activist, author, and lecturer. He's well known as one of the fathers of modern linguistics. He is the most cited living author and a well-known political dissident. He was named the world's leading intellectual by Global Intellectuals poll in 2005. He's been one of the most fearless critics of U.S. foreign policies and has worked hard to raise the consciousness about the unnecessary use of power and human rights violations. And we're very happy to have him with us tonight. Hi there, Saeed. Hello and welcome, Professor Chomsky. Thank you for being with us.
Well, hello there. Good evening to you, everyone, and thank you for joining us, and good evening to you, Professor Chomsky. Thank you for being with us.
Glad to be with you.
Howard Zinn is a great friend of yours, passed away sadly last week. He was someone who has dedicated his life to matters of peace. He said that peace is not an impossible concept in today's world. First, what are your thoughts on Howard Zinn's passing, and what is the price of peace on earth?
Well, as you said, he was a close personal friend, in fact, for 45 years, and we've been through quite a lot together. The families were also very close, so it's a personal loss, of course. But it's much broader than that. It's a very serious loss beyond his family and his many friends and much wider circles who were. It's hard to imagine even how many lives were touched and changed by his work and his own life, which was intimately interrelated with his work. His work changed significantly the way history is viewed, in particular American history, but extends far beyond, focusing attention on what had been marginalized, namely the crucial contributions of what he called countless unknown people whose actions lay the basis, lie at the roots of the great events that enter history. And he brought that to the fore. He also exposed much of the truth of American history, which, like other states, is not very pretty, but is concealed. And that just all of this changed the conscience of a generation, as did his own model. He was a participant commentator. That was from the first days. He was teaching, he had tenure, in fact, at Spelman College, a black college at Georgia, and he was one of the very few supporters of the black students in the early and very dangerous days of the civil rights movement, when they were beginning to sit in at lunch counters, ride freedom buses, and so on. He not only supported them, but participated in their activities, and later wrote the first major book about SNCC, which was Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, which was at the forefront of the civil rights movement, and as thanks for his integrity, he was thrown out of the university. And it went on like that through the rest of his life. His actions he was just a model of integrity, of sincerity, of insight, of good humor and wit in the face of adversity. It's just an inspiring figure.
Yes. In your book, Professor Chomsky, that you wrote in 2006, you talked about failed states. You wrote that human welfare hangs on few unavoidable choices, which actually you have just enumerated some choices that do affect human conduct. And you spoke about nuclear war, environmental disaster, disasters and government as well. Now, Haiti comes to mind. It has long been considered a threat to U.S. security from its internal threats. Now, as the environmental disaster has hit that country, what is the reality of it as far as humanity, and what is the future of that country and the relationship with the United States?
Well, it was a monstrous tragedy. There are hundreds of thousands of people killed. Much of the country devastated. It's a real horror story. But we should bear in mind that it's a class-based catastrophe, like many others. Those who suffered overwhelmingly were the poor. There is a small, wealthy, highly exploitative elite in Haiti, closely linked to U.S. power, enriching themselves from the misery of the country for centuries, and they were pretty much spared. There was damage, some deaths, but it was absolutely nothing like the horror stories in the miserable slums to which people were confined and were trying to survive, barely survivable even before the earthquake. Well, that raises the question why people were driven into these miserable slums. And the reason lies in centuries of oppression and violence from the outside in connection with a collaborationist elite. It's the standard model of colonialism, but in an extreme form. First, Haiti was, one of the richest colonies in the world, maybe the richest. A couple hundred years ago, it was robbed blind by France, which turned it into a slave plantation economy, which ruined a good bit of its limited productive soil. Also, the French began the deforestation, shipping forests back to France and so on. And it's a source of a good deal of France's wealth. The country finally liberated itself in 1804. It became the first free country of free men in the hemisphere. It was a bitter war in which maybe a third of the population was killed. It was a war against France, sent a huge expeditionary force. The British sent a huge army. The United States participated. And Haiti was made to pay a very serious price for the crime of liberation. France imposed a huge indemnity, which was a stranglehold on the country. In fact, they've never gotten out of it to this day. The United States refused to recognize it. The United States was a slave society and was, deeply frightened by the idea of a free country nearby. The U.S. didn't recognize it until 1862. After the time of the Emancipation Proclamation, when slaves were supposed to be freed, the U.S. recognized Liberia in the same year, and the